Hi, fifth graders. This week we are doing lesson 5, add and subtract decimals. You need your instruction page, which is the OWL book out on 34 and 35. And your practice page you can tear out, it's page 39 and 40. So again, we are going to add and subtract decimals. I think you're going to like this lesson a lot better than last week's. It's a lot simpler. So let's get started with it. Before we begin, we need to look at our vocabulary words for this week. Decimal, a number that contains a decimal point that separates a whole from a part. So over here, oops, let me get the pencil. If I wrote 4.99, then we know that this is a decimal number. This right here is a decimal, so we call this a decimal number. Over here on the left-hand side, we have whole numbers. Whole is what that represents, and over here is partial. So 99 cents is part, or 99 is part of a 1. If we added a penny to that, it would become a whole, and it would move to this side of the decimal. So anything over here on the right-hand side of the decimal is a part of a whole. And we need to make sure that we understand decimals and how they work like that. Difference, that means we're going to be doing some subtraction. When you're looking for the difference, you always subtract. Estimate, it says it's a verb. That means you're doing something. We estimate numbers. This is close to 5. So we would call, if you saw this in a store of something that was $4.99, we would say it costs $5. That's an estimate. We're giving an approximate number. Okay, place value is what we've been working with for the last couple of weeks. We know that on the left-hand side of the decimal are the whole numbers, and we have ones, tens, hundreds. Then we have 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. Then we go up into the millions and the billions and the trillions. You don't have to go that far, but that's what place value is. On the right-hand side, we have tenths with that TH behind it, hundredth with that TH, and thousandth, and it continues on and on and on, but fifth graders only need to know up to the thousandth. Okay, and then sum. Our last one says sum down there at the bottom, and sum means we're going to add things together. Okay, so let me get rid of our vocabulary and go right into our lesson. So this first lesson is always use what you know. It's going to be something that the book or the designers of the book are hoping that you're going to recall some information that you know, and that is adding. You know how to add whole numbers. So now we're going to try to teach you ways to add the decimals as well. So let's read the problem together. Sabrina and Christy run in a relay, like a race, and I can see that they're racing using my clues here in the picture. Sabrina runs 100 meters in 13 and 25 hundredths second. Christy then runs the same distance in 12 and 2/10 seconds. What is their total time? So we have two runners and they both have different times. We don't really need to know that they ran the 100 meters. That's not important. But we do need to know 13 and 25 seconds and 12 and 2/10 seconds. So how many seconds do the girls run altogether? Well, if this top number this is 13 seconds right up here, and this is 12, I know that they run basically 25 seconds. So that's kind of that estimation that we use. So go ahead and fill that in with 25 seconds. Then it says explain your reasoning. Use the word estimate since we just learned that. I estimated using the whole number. Okay? That means we used the 13 and the 12. We didn't really look at the fractional part, the decimal part of the number yet. We just used the left-hand side and added those together. So then it wants you to now look at this number, 13 and 25 hundredths. I'm going to, that irritates me that it does that. I don't know how to get rid of it. 13 and 25 hundredths. Okay, so it's going to break it down. It says that Sabrina had a 10, which is right there. She had one 10. She had 3 ones, which is right there. She had 2 tenths, which is right there. And she had 5 hundredths, which is right there. Now they want you to do the same thing on Christy's time. Divide it up just like they showed you here as an example. So get that in there. You can always pause the video by hitting the space bar so that you have time to write. You don't have to let this keep going and going. That's how you're going to learn. Okay, now we're going to come down to this next section. See, and it says, let's combine Sabrina's and Christine's time. How many tens in all? So now that you have this written in here, you should be able to say that there are 2 tens. How many ones? You should be able to say that there are 5 ones. And that's because this 3 and then this 2, those are both in the 1, so we had 5. How many tenths? That is the number that is right beside the decimal on the right-hand side. You had 2 and 2. So we have 4 tenths. And how many hundredths? Well, Sabrina had a 5 in the hundredths, but Christy didn't. So we just have 5 plus 0, and that would give us 5. Now, write the sum of the tens, the ones, the tenths, and the hundredths as a decimal. So your answer is going to be 25 and 45 hundredths. Now, let's look at how does this compare to what we did up here where we did the estimating. We estimated right here that it was 25. And this right here says, yep, we're pretty close to 25. So down here, we're going to write, it is very close. Or it says, is it reasonable? Yes, comma, it is very close. Okay. Make sure that you're answering that when it says, is it reasonable? Yes or no. Use words to explain how you could find Sabrina and Christy's total times. Let's just skip that one. We already know how we did that. Okay, next page. I'm going to find out just a little bit more. It's going to stretch your mind just a little bit more. You can use what you know about adding whole numbers to add decimals. It's the same thing. So to add 13 and 25 hundredths and 12 and 200, you combine the digits in the same place. So just what we kind of had written over on the last page, we put the tens together, we put the ones together, we put the tenths together, and the hundredths together. Notice over here this cute little tip that helps us. 2 tenths, this one right here where we're talking about 12 and 2 tenths, is also the same as 20 hundredths. We just don't say it that way very often, but by putting that 0 in there, 2 tenths and 20 hundredths are the same. So then when we add up all of our columns, we end up with 25 and 45 hundredths. You can do the same thing when you are doing difference. It says, what is the difference between their times? So we're going to subtract 12 and 20 hundredths from 13 and 25 hundredths. Again, same thing. We always want our decimal to be lined up. We always want our tenths to be lined up, our hundredths. If we happen to have thousandths, we want those to be lined up as well. Okay, so it says that Christy is faster by 1 and 5 hundredths of a second. We are not going to do the reflecting part, so you can close this book and get your practice page. On the practice page, what I want you to do today is circled in red. I want you to actually do the subtracting and write your answer down here. You do not have to do all of this. It's asking us, when are we going to have to borrow? And I'm hoping that you know how to borrow. Like you cannot, if you only have 3 of something, you can't take 9 away. So you're going to have to borrow for the 3. So I want you to just do that one and put the answer down here. Then on this one, I would like you to do number 4, number 5, and number 6. And that will be it for today. Have a great day.